Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Advance. I am so happy to see you here again. I am your host, Jessica, and today we have a really special episode planned for you that I think is going to change the way you look at learning English. Because today we are not just going to talk about grammar rules or vocabulary lists. Instead, we are going to dive deep into the daily habits that can actually build your fluency over time. Learning a language is not about studying for 5 hours one day and then doing nothing for the rest of the week. It is actually about doing small things every single day that add up to big results. And that is exactly what we are going to explore together right now. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and maybe open your notebook because you are going to hear a lot of practical tips that you can start using immediately to improve your English listening for real conversations and speak more naturally. Let's get started. I want to start by asking you a simple question. What does fluency mean to you? Many people think that fluency means speaking like a native speaker perfectly without any mistakes. But actually, fluency is much more than that. Fluency is about being able to express your ideas clearly and comfortably. It is about understanding what people say to you in real situations without panicking. And most importantly, it is about feeling confident when you open your mouth to speak. And the secret to getting there is not magic. It is not a special pill you can take. The secret is simply consistency, building daily habits that put English in front of your eyes and in your ears every single day. So today I want to walk you through some of these habits and explain exactly why they work and how you can do them too. So the first habit I want to talk about is something you are doing right now, listening, but not just any kind of listening. I want to talk about active and passive listening and how you can use them both to improve your skills. You see, when you listen to a podcast like this, you might be doing active listening where you are trying to understand every word. Or you might be doing passive listening where you are just letting the sound wash over you while you cook or clean, and both are good. But today I want to focus on how to make your listening more effective so that you can understand real conversations. Because real conversations are fast, people mumble, they use slang, and they don't speak like textbook characters. So to get better at this, you need to expose yourself to real English as much as possible. This means listening to content that is not just for learners, but also for native speakers. Yes, it might be scary at first, but your brain is amazing. It will start to pick up the rhythm and the music of the language. So try to listen to English podcasts, watch YouTube videos, or listen to the news in English for at least 15 minutes every day. And here is a tip. Do not worry if you do not understand everything. Even native speakers do not catch every word sometimes. Just try to get the main idea. What is the person talking about? What is their emotion? Are they happy, sad, angry, or excited? Focusing on the context and the emotion will help you understand the meaning even if you miss a few words. And this is a crucial skill for real life, because in real life you cannot ask someone to repeat themselves 5 times. You have to be able to guess the meaning from the situation. Now let's move on to the second habit, which is one of my favorites, and that is the habit of shadowing. I talk about this a lot because it is so powerful. Shadowing is when you listen to a sentence and then you repeat it immediately out loud. Exactly as the speaker said it, you try to copy their speed, their intonation, and their emotion. This is not just about pronunciation, this is about training your mouth muscles to move in new ways. Because English uses different mouth positions than many other languages. So when you shadow, you are building muscle memory. Let me give you an example. Imagine I say the phrase, I am going to the store. Now, if I just read it, I might say it flatly like a robot, I am going to the store. But a native speaker would probably say it like this, I'm going to go to the store. Notice how the word's going to become gonna, and how the voice goes up and down. When you shadow, you copy that natural flow. So here is what I want you to do. Find a short audio clip, maybe from this podcast or a video you like. Listen to one sentence, pause it, and say it out loud exactly the same way. Do this 10 times a day. It only takes a few minutes, but over a week, that is 70 sentences, and over a month, that is hundreds of sentences that your mouth has practiced. And you will find that suddenly words just start coming out of your mouth without you having to think about it. It feels like magic, but it is actually just practice. And this leads to better fluency because you are not translating in your head anymore. You are just speaking. Another daily habit that is incredibly effective, but often overlooked, is talking to yourself. Yes, you heard me right. Talking to yourself. Now, I know this might sound a little bit silly, and you might feel embarrassed doing it at first, but I promise you it is one of the best ways to practice without the pressure of a real conversation. You can do this when you are alone at home, when you are driving, or even when you are taking a shower. Just narrate your life, for example. If you are making breakfast, you can say, now I am taking a plate out of the cupboard, I am putting some bread in the toaster. I am waiting for the water to boil. I like drinking coffee in the morning. It makes me feel awake. This does several things for you. First, it helps you practice vocabulary for things you do every day, so these words will stick in your brain because you are using them in real context. Second, it helps you start thinking in English, because usually we think in our native language and then translate, which slows us down. But if you narrate your life, you are training your brain to skip the translation step and go straight to the English word. And third, it builds your confidence, because you are hearing your own voice speak English, and you realize, hey, I can actually communicate my ideas. So do not be shy, give it a try. Start with just 5 minutes a day. Describe what you see, what you feel, and what you are doing. And if you get stuck on a word, that is okay. Just look it up or skip it and keep going. The important thing is to keep the flow going. Let's talk about another habit that is very easy to implement, and that is changing the language of your technology. Think about how much time you spend on your phone or your computer every day. Probably a lot of time, right? So why not make that time useful for your English? You can change the language settings on your phone to English, change your social media accounts to English, and even change your computer's operating system to English. Now, at first, this might be a little bit frustrating because you might not know where the settings are or what a specific button means, but that is actually good, because it forces you to learn new words in context. You will learn words like settings, privacy, notification, share, save, delete, and many others very quickly because you need them to use your phone. This is called immersion, and it is a very powerful way to learn because you are not studying these words from a list. You are using them to achieve a goal. You are navigating your phone, and the English is just the tool you are using to do it. So I really encourage you to take the plunge and change your phone language today. It might take a few days to get used to it, but after a week, You will be surprised at how much natural vocabulary you have picked up without even trying. Moving on, I want to discuss the habit of reading, but not just reading textbooks. I want you to read for pleasure. Reading is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary and your grammar structure. Because when you read, you see how sentences are built, you see how words are spelled, and you see words in context. But the key is to read something that is interesting to you. If you love cars, read a car magazine in English. If you love fashion, read a fashion blog. If you love cooking, read English recipes. When you are interested in the topic, you will want to read, and you will forget that you are learning English. You will just be enjoying the content. And when you come across a word you do not know, do not stop to look up every single word. That kills the joy of reading. Instead, try to guess the meaning from the story, and only look up the word if it appears many times or if it is essential for understanding the story. This habit of reading for pleasure will expand your vocabulary in a way that feels natural and effortless. And it will also improve your writing and speaking, because you will subconsciously start using the sentence structures that you see in the books you read. Now let's focus on a habit that is specifically for improving your listening skills, and that is listening to different accents and voices. In many English classes, students only listen to their teacher or to standard audio recordings. But in the real world, English is spoken in many different ways. You will hear American English, British English, Australian English, Indian English, and many more. And even within one country, people speak differently. Someone from New York sounds different from someone from Texas. So to be a fluent listener, you need to expose your ears to this variety. You can do this by watching movies from different countries, listening to podcasts hosted by people from different backgrounds, or even watching interviews on YouTube. Do not just stick to one accent. Challenge yourself. The more you listen to different accents, the more flexible your ears will become, and you will stop panicking when you meet someone who speaks English a little bit differently than you are used to. You will realize that the core of the language is the same. It is just the packaging that is different, and this is a huge confidence booster for real-life conversations. I also want to share a habit that is about mindset, and that is the habit of not being afraid of mistakes. So many learners are perfectionists. They want to say every sentence perfectly before they open their mouths, and this fear stops them from speaking. But here is the truth. Mistakes are your friends. Mistakes are how you learn. When you make a mistake and someone corrects you, or you realize it yourself, that mistake sticks in your brain, and you probably will not make it again. So I want you to make a habit of making at least 5 mistakes a day. Seriously, go out there and try to use new words. Try to use new grammar structures, and if you mess up, laugh it off and keep going. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. We forget words. We say things the wrong way, but we do not let it stop us from communicating. So you should not either. Focus on the message, not the grammar. If the other person understood you, then you succeeded. So embrace the mistakes. They are proof that you are trying and that you are learning. Let's take a moment to talk about how to practice specific situations, because often we know the English, but we do not know what to say in specific moments, like ordering food, meeting new people, or going to the doctor. A great daily habit is to visualize these scenarios and practice what you would say. For example, today imagine you are walking into a coffee shop. Picture the counter, the barista, the menu, Now in your head, or even out loud, practice what you would say. You might say, "Hi there. Could I please have a large latte with oat milk?" And the barista might ask, "Is that for here or to go?" And you would reply, "For here, please." By visualizing and practicing these scripts, you are preparing your brain for real interactions. So when you actually go to a coffee shop, you will not freeze up. The words will be there waiting for you. You can do this for any situation, a job interview, a date, a presentation. Just spend a few minutes every day role-playing in your head. It is like a mental rehearsal for athletes, and it makes a huge difference when it is game time. Another wonderful habit is keeping a journal in English. Now, do not worry. This does not have to be a long, complicated essay. It can just be a few sentences every night before you go to bed. Write about what you did that day, how you felt, or what you are looking forward to tomorrow. Writing helps you process your thoughts and helps you get comfortable with constructing sentences. And the best part is that no one else has to see it. So you can be totally free to experiment with words and grammar without fear of judgment. You might write, "Today was a busy day at work. I felt a little tired, but I am happy it is over. Tomorrow I am going to the gym. I want to get stronger." Simple sentences like that are great practice, and over time, you will look back and see how much your writing has improved. And you will notice that your speaking improves too, because writing and speaking use the same parts of the brain for language generation. I also want to emphasize the importance of connecting with other people. Even if you cannot find a conversation partner in real life, you can still practice online. There are so many apps and websites where you can chat with other learners or even native speakers. Try to make a habit of writing at least one message in English every day. It could be a comment on a YouTube video, a post on a forum, or a message to a language partner. Interacting with real people gives you a reason to communicate. It makes the language come alive, because language is not just words on a page. It is a tool for connection. When you write a message and someone replies, you feel a sense of accomplishment, and you are using English for its real purpose, which is to share ideas and feelings with others. So do not be shy. Reach out and say hello. The English learning community is very friendly and supportive, and everyone is on the same journey as you. Let's talk about a fun habit that can really improve your listening and vocabulary, and that is watching English movies and TV shows with subtitles. But here is the trick. Try to watch them with English subtitles instead of subtitles in your own language. When you use your native language subtitles, your eyes will naturally read them, and you will stop listening to the English. But when you use English subtitles, you are reading and listening at the same time, and this helps your brain connect the sound of the word to the spelling of the word. If the show is too fast, you can pause it and go back, but try to just keep going and follow the story. This is a great way to learn slang and idioms that are not in textbooks. You will hear how people really talk on the street, with all the pauses and fillers, and this will make your own listening skills much sharper, because you are training your brain to process English at natural speed. I want to give you a specific technique for listening practice that I call the keyword technique. When you are listening to a conversation or a podcast, try to pick out just the keywords. These are the most important words that carry the meaning, usually nouns, verbs, and adjectives. You do not need to hear every single word like the, and, is, or a, if you hear the words rain. Tomorrow, umbrella. You can guess the sentence is probably about taking an umbrella because it will rain tomorrow. So practice listening for content words and letting the grammar words fill in the blanks automatically. This is how native speakers listen. We do not hear every syllable perfectly. We catch the key words and our brain fills in the rest. So the next time you listen to something, try to write down just the key words you hear, and then try to reconstruct the story from those words. This is a fantastic exercise for training your brain to process English more efficiently. Now let's discuss the habit of learning phrases instead of just individual words. Many students memorize lists of single words: apple, table, run, happy. But when they want to speak, they have to build the sentence from scratch, which is slow and difficult. A better habit is to learn chunks of language, or phrases, for example. Instead of just learning the word decision, learn the phrase, make a decision. Instead of just learning the word chance, learn the phrase, take a chance. This way, when you want to speak, you have ready-made blocks that you can put together. This is called chunking, and it is the secret to sounding natural and fluent. When you listen to native speakers, notice how they often use the same groups of words together. Start a notebook where you write down these useful phrases and try to use them in your own sentences as soon as possible. This will make your speaking sound much more smooth and less like a translation from your native language. Another daily habit that can help is reviewing your vocabulary, but not in a boring way. Do not just stare at a list. Try to use the new words you learned in a sentence immediately. If you learn the word enormous, which means very big, try to look around the room and find something enormous, or make up a story. I saw an enormous dog in the park today. By using the word right away, you move it from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. You can also use flashcards, apps, or sticky notes around your house. Label things in your house with the English word. Put a note on your mirror that says confident. Put a note on your fridge that says delicious. Every time you see these words, you are reminding your brain of them, and this constant repetition is what makes them stick. Let's talk about the habit of pronunciation practice. And I don't mean just repeating words. I mean really paying attention to the sounds of English. English has some sounds that might not exist in your native language, like the TH sound in think or this, or the difference between the vowel sounds in ship and sheep. A daily habit of practicing these difficult sounds for just 5 minutes can improve your clarity dramatically. You can find videos online that show you where to put your tongue and how to shape your lips. Look in the mirror and copy the movements. It might feel strange at first, but that is okay. You are training your muscles. Record yourself speaking and compare it to a native speaker. This can be painful, I know. Nobody likes hearing their own voice. But it is the fastest way to improve, because you can hear exactly what you are doing wrong and fix it. So be brave, record yourself, and listen carefully. You will improve much faster than if you just listen passively. I also want to encourage you to think about your environment. If you surround yourself with English, you will learn faster. This is called creating an English zone. Maybe you can dedicate one corner of your room to English, where you keep your English books, your notebooks, and your flashcards. Or maybe you can set aside a specific time of day, say 30 minutes after dinner. That is English-only time. During this time, you do not speak your native language at all. You only read, listen, write, or speak in English. Even if you are just talking to your cat or your houseplant, creating this ritual signals to your brain that it is time to focus on English, and it makes it easier to get into the learning mode. Consistency is key. So try to do your English zone at the same time every day. It will become a habit just like brushing your teeth. We should also talk about the habit of setting goals. It is important to know what you are working towards. Do not just say, I want to learn English. That is too vague. Make a specific goal for the month. For example, this month I will learn 20 new phrases about food. Or this month I will be able to understand a 5-minute news clip without subtitles. Write your goal down and put it somewhere you can see it. Every day when you practice, remind yourself of your goal. Having a clear target gives you motivation and helps you measure your progress. And when you achieve your goal, celebrate it. Give yourself a pat on the back. Maybe buy yourself a small treat. Celebrating your wins, no matter how small, keeps you positive and excited about learning. Let's revisit the idea of listening because it is so important. I want to talk specifically about listening to podcasts. And of course, I hope you love listening to English in advance, but I also want you to listen to other podcasts. There are thousands of free podcasts available on every topic you can imagine: history, science, comedy, true crime, business. Find a topic that you love and find a podcast about it in English. When you listen to something you are genuinely interested in, the motivation to understand is much higher. You will want to know what happens next. You will want to understand the joke. This desire pulls you through the difficult parts. It makes you work harder to understand. And that effort is what builds your fluency. So explore the world of podcasts. Find your favorites and listen to them while you commute, while you exercise, or while you do chores. It turns dead time into productive learning time. Another powerful habit is to summarize what you hear or read. After you listen to a podcast episode or read a blog post, try to explain it to someone else or just explain it to yourself out loud. Pretend you are telling a friend about the interesting thing you learned. This forces you to process the information and put it into your own words. It activates the part of your brain responsible for producing language, not just understanding it. For example, if you listen to a podcast about space travel, you might say, "So I listened to this show about how astronauts train. And it was really interesting because they have to go underwater to feel like there is no gravity. And they practice fixing things in big pools." By summarizing, you are checking if you really understood the material, and you are practicing your speaking skills at the same time. It is a double win. I also want to mention the habit of being curious about language. When you hear a new idiom or a slang term, do not just ignore it. Investigate it. Ask yourself, why do people say that? Where does it come from? English is full of colorful expressions like, "It is raining cats and dogs," or "break a leg." If you take the time to learn the story behind these phrases, they become much easier to remember because they have a picture or a story attached to them. Plus, using idioms makes you sound more like a native speaker. So keep your ears open for these interesting expressions. Write them down, look them up, and try to use them in a sentence the next day. Being curious and asking questions about the language will make your learning journey much more fun and interesting. Let's talk a little bit about grammar. I know grammar can be boring for some people, but it is the structure of the language. However, you do not need to memorize complex rule books. A better habit is to learn grammar in context. When you are reading or listening, and you see a sentence structure that you do not understand, stop and look at it. Ask yourself, why is the verb in this form? Why did they use this tense here? Try to figure out the rule from the example and then look for more examples of that same rule. For instance, if you see someone saying, "I have been working here for 5 years," and you know they are still working there, you can figure out that this tense is used for actions that started in the past and continue now. By discovering the rules yourself, they will stick in your brain much better than if someone just told you the rule. So be a detective. Investigate the grammar you see in real life. We should also address the habit of managing frustration. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you are not making any progress. There will be days when you feel like you cannot understand anything. And that is normal. It happens to everyone, even advanced learners. The important habit here is to not give up on those bad days. Accept that you are tired, take a break if you need to, but come back to it the next day. Do not let a bad day turn into a bad week. Tell yourself, "I am just having an off day. Tomorrow will be better." Being kind to yourself and staying persistent is the most important habit of all, because fluency takes time. But if you keep showing up, if you keep doing these little habits every day, you will get there. I promise you. Let's do a little practice right now together. I want you to think about your daily routine. I want you to visualize your morning. From the moment you wake up to the moment you leave the house. Now, in your head, I want you to describe it in simple English. I wake up, I stretch, I get out of bed, I walk to the bathroom, I wash my face, I brush my teeth, I look in the mirror, I go to the kitchen, I make coffee, I drink the coffee, I feel awake, I get dressed, I pick up my bag, I open the door, I leave the house. Did you see how many verbs we just used? And how many nouns? This is the language of your life. Practicing this narration in your head is such a good habit because it connects English directly to your reality. So try to do this every morning. Narrate your morning routine in your head, and soon you will find that you can do it faster and faster, and you can add more details. The coffee is hot. The sun is shining. I am wearing my blue jacket. These details make your language richer. I also want to suggest a habit called the 3-word story. This is a fun game you can play by yourself or with friends. Think of 3 random words, for example, tiger, airplane, and pizza, and then try to tell a short story that includes those 3 words. So you might say, "One day a tiger got on an airplane because he wanted to eat pizza in Italy." It is a silly story, but it forces your brain to be creative and to connect words in a sentence. This improves your fluency because you are not just repeating set phrases. You are creating new language on the spot. You can do this anywhere, waiting for the bus, standing in line. Just pick 3 words you see around you and make up a quick story. It is a great workout for your brain. Another habit is to use technology to help you. There are so many great apps for learning English. You can use apps like Anki for spaced repetition of vocabulary, or Duolingo for gamified practice, or Grammarly for checking your writing. But remember, these apps are tools. They are not the teacher. You still need to use the language in real life. Use the apps to supplement your daily habits. For example, use a dictionary app to look up words instantly when you hear them. Use a translator app to check your understanding, but always try to understand first before you reach for the app. Technology is great, but your own brain is even better. So challenge yourself first, then use the tools to help you. I want to talk about the social aspect of learning. Even if you are shy, you can still interact with English online in a low-pressure way. You can leave comments on videos or posts. You can join Facebook groups for English learners. You can participate in forums like Reddit. Just writing a simple comment like, "I really like this video, thank you for sharing," is a great start. When you write something and someone replies, you have a real interaction. This builds your confidence and shows you that you can communicate with others. Do not worry about making mistakes in public. Everyone makes them. And most people are very supportive and helpful. So take a small step out of your comfort zone and say something in English online today. Let's focus on the habit of noticing patterns. English is full of patterns. For example, you might notice that we usually say, make a mistake, not do a mistake. Or we say, take a photo, not do a photo. These are collocations, words that go together naturally. When you are reading or listening, try to notice these patterns. When you see a new word, look at the words around it. What verb goes with it? What preposition follows it? Keeping a notebook of these word partnerships is incredibly valuable. It will make your English sound much more natural. Because native speakers speak in patterns, we do not build every word from scratch. We use these pre-packaged chunks of language, so start collecting these chunks and practice using them yourself. I also want to encourage you to listen to English music. Music is a powerful tool for memory because of the melody and the rhythm. When you sing along to an English song, you are practicing pronunciation and fluency without even realizing it. The music helps you remember the words and the stress patterns. Of course, song lyrics can sometimes be poetic or use slang, but that is okay. It is all part of learning the culture and the feeling of the language. Look up the lyrics if you do not understand them. Read them while you listen and then try to sing along. It is a fun and relaxing way to immerse yourself in English, and it can really help with your intonation and stress. Another habit is to prepare for the next day before you go to sleep. Spend 5 minutes thinking about what you will do tomorrow in English. Maybe you have a meeting, maybe you have a class, maybe you are going to the grocery store. Think about the English sentences you might need. If you are going to the store, practice saying, "How much is this? Can I pay by card? Do you have a bag?" If you are prepared, you will feel much more confident when the situation actually happens. This is like mental rehearsal for athletes. It prepares your brain to perform well under pressure. So take a few minutes at night to plan your English for the next day. Let's also talk about the habit of reviewing your mistakes. This might sound painful, but it is very useful. If you had a conversation and you struggled, or if you wrote something and you know it was wrong, go back and look at it. Ask yourself, why was that wrong? What should I have said instead? Maybe ask a teacher or a friend to correct you, and then write the correct version down. Say it out loud 5 times. This is how you turn a failure into a lesson. If you ignore your mistakes, you will keep making them. But if you face them and fix them, you will improve. So do not be afraid to look at your errors. They are your best teachers. I want to emphasize the importance of finding your why. Why are you learning English? Is it for a better job? Is it to travel? Is it to watch movies without subtitles? Is it to make friends from other countries? Knowing your reason will keep you motivated when things get hard. Write your reason down and look at it often. Remind yourself why you are putting in this effort. When you have a strong why, you will find the energy to practice every day. You will be more consistent, and consistency is the key to fluency. So hold on to your reason. Let it drive you forward. Let's do another quick practice exercise. I want you to think about your favorite food. I want you to describe it in detail. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Use adjectives. For example, my favorite food is pizza. It has a crispy crust. It has melted cheese on top. It smells like tomatoes and basil. It tastes salty and delicious. I love eating it when it is hot. Practicing describing things like this helps you build your vocabulary and your sentence structure. And it is a fun way to talk about things you love. So pick your favorite food, your favorite animal, or your favorite place, and describe it in English right now in your head. Another great daily habit is to mimic native speakers in real time. When you are watching a video or listening to a podcast, try to speak along with the speaker. Do not wait for them to finish the sentence. Try to predict what they are going to say and say it with them. This is a bit more advanced than shadowing, but it is excellent for training your brain to think and speak at the same time. It helps you get used to the speed of native speech. Start with slow content and then move to faster content as you get better. This will make real conversations feel much slower and easier to handle. I also want to talk about the habit of simplifying your thoughts. Sometimes we try to translate complex ideas from our native language into English, and it gets very messy. A good habit is to try to express your idea in simple English first. Use simple words and simple grammar. If you cannot say, "I am extremely disappointed with the outcome of the situation," just say, "I am sad it did not work." It is okay to start simple. You can always make it more complex later. The goal is to communicate. So do not try to be a philosopher in English if you are still a beginner. Start with simple sentences and build up from there. Confidence comes from being able to say what you want to say clearly, even if the words are simple. Let's revisit the idea of having an English routine. As I mentioned earlier, consistency is key. So try to do your English activities at the same time every day. Maybe it is during your lunch break. Maybe it is right before bed when it becomes a routine. You do not have to use willpower to do it. You just do it automatically, like brushing your teeth. Put it on your calendar if you have to. Set a reminder on your phone. Protect this time. Tell your family or roommates that you are busy learning English. Having a specific time and place for your English study will make it much more likely that you will stick to it. I also want to suggest that you teach someone else what you have learned. Teaching is one of the best ways to learn because you have to understand it clearly to explain it. Even if you do not have a student, you can pretend or you can write a blog post explaining a grammar point or a vocabulary word. When you teach, you organize the information in your brain and it becomes much stronger. So if you learned a really cool idiom today, explain it to a friend. Tell them what it means and give them an example. You will find that by teaching it, you learn it better yourself. Another habit is to change your internal monologue to English. We all talk to ourselves inside our heads all day long. We make plans. We criticize ourselves. We reminisce. Try to catch yourself doing this and switch it to English. If you are thinking, "I am so tired, I wish I could go home," think it in English. "I am so tired. I wish I could go home." This is the most intensive practice you can do because it is happening all day long. It takes time to get used to, but once you start thinking in English, your fluency will skyrocket because you are removing the translation step entirely. Let's talk about the habit of using resources wisely. There are so many resources out there, books, Apps, websites, videos, podcasts. It can be overwhelming. Do not try to use everything at once. Pick 1 or 2 resources that you like and stick with them. It is better to use one resource consistently than to jump around from one to another without finishing anything. Find a podcast you like, listen to every episode, find a textbook you like, finish it. Consistency with one resource will give you better results than jumping around, so choose your tools wisely and use them well. I also want to encourage you to listen to English at different speeds. Most podcast players and video players have a speed setting. Try listening to something at 1.25 times speed or 1.5 times speed. This might be hard at first, but it trains your brain to process English faster. Then when you go back to normal speed, it will feel very slow and easy. This is a great way to challenge yourself and improve your listening comprehension. Just be careful not to make it so fast that you cannot understand anything at all. Find a speed that is challenging but still understandable. Another daily habit is to write a to-do list in English. Every morning, write down the things you need to do that day. Buy milk, call mom, finish report, go to gym. This is practical, useful vocabulary that you use every day, and seeing it written down helps reinforce it. Plus, crossing things off the list feels good, and doing it in English adds a little bit of practice to your day without taking any extra time, because you have to make a list anyway, right? So why not make it in English? Let's also talk about the habit of asking questions. Curiosity is your best friend. When you do not understand something, ask. Ask your teacher. Ask a friend. Ask an online forum. Do not just be silent. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Every question you ask is an opportunity to learn. And by asking, you are taking control of your learning. You are not waiting for knowledge to come to you. You are going out and getting it, so be curious, be bold, and ask as many questions as you can. I want to take you a step further now and dive even deeper into the mechanics of real conversation. Because while habits are the foundation, the actual interaction is where the magic happens. And this is often where learners feel the most nervous. So let's break down the invisible parts of a conversation that you might not have learned in a textbook, starting with something called connected speech. You see, when we speak, we do not pronounce every word separately like a robot. We connect words together to make the flow smoother and faster. And this is why listening can be so difficult, because the words seem to disappear into each other. For example, if I say pick it up, a learner might hear 3 distinct words. Pick it up. But a native speaker will say pick it up. The sounds blend together. The K at the end of pick connects to the I in it, and the T at the end of it connects to the U in up. This happens all the time in English. So to improve your listening, you need to train your ear to hear these connected groups, not individual words. A great way to practice this is to take a sentence from a movie or a podcast and write down exactly what you hear. Then compare it to the actual script. You will see where the words were linked, and this realization will help you recognize those patterns next time you hear them. So do not get discouraged if you cannot hear every word, because often the word is not spoken separately. It is part of a chain of sound. And understanding this principle is a huge breakthrough for your listening comprehension. Now let's move on to the subtle art of small talk, which is the polite conversation we have with people we do not know very well, perhaps at a bus stop, in an elevator, or at the start of a meeting. Many learners find small talk difficult because it feels meaningless. But in English-speaking cultures, small talk is very important. It is a way to show that you are friendly and polite. It is a social lubricant that makes people feel comfortable. So, what are the common topics? Usually we talk about the weather, which is a classic British habit. But it is universal because it affects everyone. You might say, "It is such a beautiful day today, isn't it?" Or, "I can't believe how much rain we've had lately." Another common topic is transportation or the weekend. You might ask someone, "How was your weekend?" Or, "Do you have any fun plans for the holiday?" The key to small talk is to keep it light and positive. Avoid heavy topics like politics or religion, and do not share too much personal information. It is just a way to acknowledge the other person's existence. So practice a few small talk phrases and keep them in your pocket, ready to use when you meet someone new. It will make social situations much less intimidating. Another crucial aspect of real conversation is knowing how to interrupt politely. Because in a lively discussion, people often talk over each other. And if you wait for a perfect silence, you might never get to speak, so you need phrases that allow you to jump in without being rude. For example, you can say sorry to interrupt. "But I just wanted to add that," or "Can I just come in here for a second?" Or, "That is a really good point." And it reminds me of, notice how these phrases soften the interruption. They acknowledge that the other person is speaking, but they signal that you have something to contribute. Practicing these phrases is very important because they give you the confidence to participate in group discussions. Otherwise, you might feel like you are just an observer. So next time you are in a group, try using one of these phrases. It will feel empowering to take your turn in the conversation. Let's also talk about what to do when you lose the thread of the conversation. This happens to native speakers too. Sometimes someone speaks too fast or the topic changes suddenly and you get lost and panic sets in. But you do not need to panic. You just need to know how to ask for clarification in a polite way. You can simply say, "Sorry, could you say that again? I missed the last part," or "I am not sure I followed. Could you explain that a bit more?" Or, "Do you mean that?" Or something else. These phrases show that you are interested and trying to understand. They are not a sign of failure, so do not be afraid to use them. Actually, native speakers appreciate it when you ask for clarification because it shows you are listening carefully. So make a habit of keeping these clarification phrases handy. They are your safety net in any conversation. I want to give you a very specific technique for improving your speaking rhythm, and that is to practice speaking in thought groups. This means breaking your sentences down into small chunks of meaning, pausing briefly between each chunk. For example, if I say, "I went to the park yesterday and I saw a very big dog," I could break it into groups like this. "I went to the park yesterday and I saw a very big dog." These short pauses give you time to think about what comes next, and they also make you easier to understand because you are not rushing through the whole sentence. Many learners speak too fast because they are nervous, but slowing down and grouping your thoughts will actually make you sound more fluent because it gives your speech a natural rhythm. So when you are practicing your daily habits, try to speak in these short bursts. Pausing where it feels natural, it will make a big difference in how you sound. Another area we should explore is the use of filler words. Words like, many teachers tell students not to use these words, but actually, native speakers use them all the time. They are a natural part of speech, and they serve a purpose. They give us a moment to think while we are talking. They hold our place in the conversation so that someone else does not steal our turn. So instead of trying to eliminate them completely, try to use them consciously and sparingly. If you are stuck and need a second to find a word, you can say, well, let me see. Or it was kind of like, just be careful not to use them too much, or you might sound unsure, but using them a little bit can actually make your English sound more natural and less robotic. So listen to how native speakers use fillers and try to mimic that natural flow. Let's dive into the habit of learning idioms through stories. As I mentioned before, idioms are phrases where the meaning is not clear from the individual words, like piece of cake or cost an arm and a leg. But memorizing a list is boring. Instead, try to learn them in the context of a story or a situation. For example, imagine your friend cancels plans at the last minute. You might say, "He really left me high and dry." If you picture someone standing on a boat and the boat leaves without them, you can visualize the meaning of being abandoned or stuck. Connecting the idiom to a mental image or a mini story makes it much easier to remember. So whenever you hear a new idiom, try to create a funny or dramatic story in your head that explains the meaning. This creative act locks the idiom into your memory much better than rote memorization. I also want to talk about the importance of tone of voice. Did you know that the meaning of a sentence can change completely depending on how you say it? For example, take the simple sentence, "I did not say he stole the money." If I stress the word I, it implies that someone else said it. If I stress the word not, I am denying the accusation. If I stress the word stole, I am implying he borrowed it or did something else with it. This is called sentence stress, and it is vital for conveying your true meaning. So when you are practicing shadowing or talking to yourself, pay attention to which words you are stressing. Ask yourself, what is the most important word in this sentence? And give that word a little more power and volume. This will make your speaking much more expressive and easier to understand because people will know exactly what point you are trying to emphasize. We should also discuss how to handle telephone conversations because talking on the phone is often the hardest skill for English learners. You cannot see the other person's face or their gestures, so you lose a lot of visual information that helps you understand. To get better at this, you need to rely entirely on your ears, and you need to use specific telephone phrases. For example, if the line is bad, you can say, "Sorry, you are breaking up." Could you speak a little louder? Or if you did not catch their name, you can say, "Sorry, could you spell your name for me?" Practicing these scenarios is essential. Try calling a customer service line just to practice listening, or leave yourself a voicemail in English and then listen to it. The more you practice speaking without visual cues, the more confident you will become when the phone rings in real life. Another daily habit to consider is to keep a list of your favorite English words and phrases. We all have words that we just love the sound of, or phrases that seem to fit our personality perfectly. Whenever you hear a word that makes you smile or a phrase that sounds really cool, write it down in a special notebook. Maybe you like the word serendipity or the phrase on the same wavelength. Collecting these words gives you a personal connection to the language. It makes it yours, and then try to use them in your conversations or your writing. When you use a word that you love, you speak with more passion and energy, and that makes you a more engaging communicator. So treat English like a garden where you are planting your favorite flowers. Cultivate the words that you enjoy. Let's look at the skill of circumlocution, which is a fancy word for talking around something you do not know the word for. This is an essential survival skill. Imagine you are talking and you want to say refrigerator, but you forget the word. Do not stop talking and panic. Just describe it. You can say, that big white machine in the kitchen where we keep our food cold. This shows that you are a fluent communicator because you can keep the conversation going even when you lack a specific vocabulary word. Practice this by picking a random object and trying to describe it without using its name. Do this with a friend or in your head. It trains your brain to think flexibly and use the words you do have to explain the words you do not have. And this is a hallmark of advanced fluency. I also want to encourage you to expose yourself to different registers of English. Register means the level of formality. We speak differently to a boss than we do to a best friend. We speak differently in a text message than we do in a speech. Being aware of this helps you choose the right words for the right situation. For example, with a friend you might say, "Yeah, that movie was cool," but with a professor you might say, "Yes, I found the film quite compelling." Notice the difference in vocabulary and sentence structure. Try to notice these differences in the movies and shows you watch. Ask yourself, is this person speaking formally or informally, and why? This awareness will help you navigate social situations with grace and avoid accidentally offending someone by being too casual when you should be polite. Another powerful habit is to record yourself telling a story. Once a week, sit down with your phone or recorder and tell a story about something that happened to you. It could be a funny thing you saw, a mistake you made, or a happy memory. Talk for 2 or 3 minutes without stopping. Then listen to the recording. It will be uncomfortable, I know, but you will hear things that you want to improve. Maybe you repeat the word like too much. Maybe you forget to use the past tense. Maybe you speak too quietly. This immediate feedback loop is incredibly valuable because you become your own teacher. Then record the story again. Trying to fix the mistakes, you will hear the improvement instantly, and over time, this practice will polish your speaking skills dramatically. Let's not forget the power of reading out loud. We talked about reading for pleasure, but reading out loud combines the benefits of reading and speaking. It helps you connect the written word with the spoken sound. It improves your pronunciation, and it helps you get used to the rhythm of long sentences. Choose a book or an article that you enjoy and read a paragraph out loud every day. Pay attention to the punctuation. Pause when you see a comma or a period. Raise your voice when you see a question mark. Treat the text like a script for a movie and perform it. This makes the language come alive in your mouth, and it helps you internalize the sentence structures so that they start appearing in your own spontaneous speech. I also want to touch on the habit of learning phrasal verbs in context. Phrasal verbs like give up, run out of, or look forward to are very common in spoken English, but they can be confusing because the meaning is often different from the individual verbs. Instead of memorizing a list, try to learn them through situations. If you are watching a sitcom and a character says, "I ran out of milk," visualize the empty carton in the fridge. Connect the phrase to the visual of emptiness. If a character says, "I am looking forward to the party," visualize their excitement and smiling face. Grounding these phrasal verbs in a visual context makes them much easier to recall later when you need them. So keep your eyes and ears open for these verbs in the wild and capture them with a mental picture. Another technique is to use the power of association. When you learn a new word, Try to connect it to a word in your own language that sounds similar, or connect it to a personal experience. For example, if you learn the word reluctant, which means not wanting to do something, you might associate it with the time you did not want to get out of bed in the morning. Creating a personal link to the word creates a stronger memory path in your brain. So do not just learn words in isolation. Weave them into the fabric of your own life and experiences. This makes the word sticky and hard to forget. Let's discuss the importance of listening for tone and emotion. Sometimes understanding the words is not enough. You need to understand how the speaker feels. Are they being sarcastic? Are they being serious? Are they joking? In English, we often use tone to convey the opposite of what we are saying. For example, if someone says, "Oh, great, another flat tire," the tone of their voice will tell you they are actually annoyed, not happy. So when you are listening to podcasts or watching movies, do not just focus on the definition of the words. Focus on the music of the voice. Is it going up or down? Is it loud or soft? Is it fast or slow? This emotional listening will help you understand the true meaning behind the words, which is essential for real human connection. I also want to suggest a habit called the 5-minute switch, where you switch your brain into English mode instantly. Maybe you have a busy schedule and cannot study for an hour, but you can find 5 minutes. Use those 5 minutes to do something intense in English, like reviewing your vocabulary list, or listening to one song and reading the lyrics, or writing a quick status update. Tell yourself that for these 5 minutes, I am an English speaker. No other language exists. This focused burst of concentration can be very effective, and it proves to yourself that you do not need huge blocks of time to make progress. You just need to be consistent and focused, even in small doses. Another advanced tip is to analyze the scripts of your favorite shows. If you are watching a series like Friends or The Office, you can often find the scripts online. Read the script while you watch the episode, or read it afterwards. You will see exactly how the words were spelled and how the actors chose to say them. You will notice where they paused, where they breathed, and where they changed the wording. This is like looking under the hood of a car to see how the engine works. It gives you a deeper understanding of the mechanics of spoken English, and it allows you to study the dialogue at your own pace. So if you have a show you love, take the time to study the script. It is a goldmine of natural language. Let's also talk about building your tolerance for ambiguity. This is a psychological skill. It is the ability to be okay with not understanding everything. Many learners feel stress when they hear a word they do not know, and that stress blocks their ability to understand the rest of the sentence. So practice relaxing your mind when you listen. Tell yourself, it is okay if I miss that word. I will focus on the rest. Taking the pressure off yourself actually helps you understand more, because your brain is not in panic mode. So next time you are listening and you get lost, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and just let the sound flow over you. Pick up what you can and let the rest go. This relaxed state is much better for learning than a stress state. I want to share a habit called the summary technique for listening. After you watch a video or listen to a podcast, try to summarize it in exactly one sentence. This forces you to identify the main idea and ignore the details. For example, if you listen to a long news story about a storm, your one-sentence summary might be, "A big storm is coming to the coast and people should stay inside." Being able to extract the main idea quickly is a crucial skill for fluent listening. Because in real life, people often ramble, and you need to be able to filter out the noise and get the point. So practice this summarizing skill regularly to sharpen your mind. Another area to focus on is polite refusals. Saying no is difficult in any language, but in English, we often use soft language to be polite. Instead of just saying no, we might say, "I would love to, but I am actually busy that day," or "I am afraid I cannot make it," or "that sounds great, but I have a prior commitment." Using these indirect phrases helps you maintain good relationships while still setting boundaries. So learn a few of these refusal phrases and practice saying them out loud so that they feel natural when you need to use them. It will make social interactions much smoother, and you will not feel guilty for saying no. Let's also consider the habit of changing your environment to match your English goals. If you want to learn business English, change your computer background to a picture of an office. Follow business leaders on social media. Read the business news. If you want to learn travel English, follow travel bloggers, watch travel vlogs, put a map of the world on your wall. Immersing yourself in the specific type of English you want to learn helps your brain focus on the relevant vocabulary and phrases. So customize your learning environment to fit your goals. Make your surroundings scream English in the specific direction you want to go. I also want to talk about the power of repetition with a gap. This is a scientifically proven method for memory. You review a word today, then you review it again in 2 days, then in 4 days, then in a week, then in a month. This spacing helps move the information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. You can use apps like Anki that do this for you automatically, or you can create your own schedule. The point is to not just review once, but to review at increasing intervals. This is much more effective than cramming. So make a habit of reviewing your old notes regularly. Do not just look at new words. Go back to the words you learned weeks ago and refresh your memory. This is what builds a solid vocabulary foundation. Another interesting habit is to narrate someone else's actions. When you are sitting in a cafe or on a bus, look at the people around you and describe what they are doing in your head. That man is drinking coffee. He is looking at his phone. He seems bored. That woman is wearing a red coat. She is walking very fast. Maybe she is late for work. This practice improves your observation skills and your verb tenses because you are describing actions happening in real time. It turns the world around you into a live English lesson, and it keeps your brain engaged with the language even when you are just waiting around. Let's discuss the importance of learning fixed expressions. These are phrases that always go together in a specific way. For example, we say, "nice to meet you," not "nice to know you." We say "on time," not "in time." We say "make a mistake," not "do a mistake." Native speakers use these expressions automatically, and if you get them wrong, it sounds a bit odd. So pay attention to these fixed pairs. When you hear a new verb, ask yourself, does it go with make or do? Does it go with in or on? Keeping a notebook of these collocations is very helpful because it helps you speak English that sounds natural and correct. So start collecting these word partnerships and practice using them in sentences. I also want to encourage you to challenge yourself with harder material. If you always listen to content made for learners, you will eventually plateau. You need to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Try listening to a podcast for native speakers. Even if you only understand 50%, try reading a newspaper article. Even if you have to look up 10 words, This struggle is where the growth happens. Your brain adapts to the level of difficulty you present it with. So if you want to reach a high level of fluency, you must engage with high-level content. It will be frustrating at first, but keep at it. And you will soon find that what was hard is now easy. Another daily habit is to use English to solve a problem. Maybe you need to fix something in your house. Look up a tutorial on YouTube in English. Maybe you need to cook a specific dish. Find a recipe in English. Maybe you have a question about health or fitness. Search for the answer in English. Using the language as a tool to solve real-world problems is incredibly motivating because the result is not just learning a word, it is actually fixing your sink or baking a cake. The language becomes the means to an end, which is exactly how we use our native language. So find a problem you have and solve it using English. Let's also touch on the habit of mirroring the body language of native speakers. Communication is not just words, it is also gestures and facial expressions. Watch videos of speakers and notice how they use their hands, how they smile, how they make eye contact. Try to copy this when you speak. It changes the way you feel. It makes you feel more confident and more like an English speaker. Standing up straight, smiling, and using open gestures can actually improve your pronunciation because your body is more relaxed and your breath is better. So do not just practice with your voice, practice with your whole body. I want to give you a final specific exercise for improving your listening for details. Find a short audio clip, maybe a minute long, and listen to it 3 times. The first time, just listen for the general idea. The second time, listen for specific details like names, dates, or numbers. The third time, listen for the emotion and the tone. By listening to the same clip multiple times with different focuses, you train your brain to process different layers of information. This is a workout for your ears and your brain, and it will make you a much more effective listener in all situations. So pick a clip and try this triple listening technique today. So let's recap the habits we talked about today. Listen to English every day, both actively and passively. Practice shadowing to improve your pronunciation and fluency. Talk to yourself to practice thinking and speaking. Change your phone language to immerse yourself. Read for pleasure to expand your vocabulary and grammar. Expose yourself to different accents. Embrace your mistakes. Visualize and practice real-life scenarios. Keep a journal. Connect with other learners online. Watch movies with English subtitles. Listen for keywords. Learn phrases instead of just words. Review your vocabulary by using it. Practice difficult pronunciation sounds. Create an English zone in your home. Set specific goals. Summarize what you learn. Be curious about idioms and expressions. Learn grammar in context. Manage your frustration and be persistent. Narrate your daily routine. Play word games. Use technology wisely. Interact online. Notice word patterns and collocations. Listen to music. Prepare for the next day. Review your mistakes. Remember your why. Describe things in detail. Mimic native speakers in real time. Simplify your thoughts. Establish a routine. Teach what you learn. Change your internal monologue. Use resources consistently. Listen at different speeds. And write your to-do list in English. That is a lot of habits, I know, but you do not have to do all of them at once. Just pick 1 or 2 to start with. And once they become a part of your day, add another one. Slow and steady wins the race. The most important thing is that you do something every day, even if it is just for 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes add up over weeks and months, and before you know it, you will be speaking and understanding English better than you ever thought possible. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of English in Advance. I really hope you found these tips helpful and inspiring. Remember, you have the power to build your own fluency. It is in your hands. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps us so much and lets other learners find us too. Share this episode with a friend who is also learning English. Maybe you can practice these habits together. You can also find us on social media. Just search for English in Advance. We post daily tips and extra content there to help you on your journey. I am Jessica, and I will see you next time with more tips and strategies to help you advance your English. Keep practicing, stay positive, and never give up. Bye for now.